starting with Wake Forest, Duke. Blue Devils win it 75-73, mostly because Wake Forest went on a 7-0 run to close out the game. This was another rematch. Wake Forest beat Duke back in December. But in this game, hi, Jeremy Roach. Welcome to the party. He only had 9 points in that first meeting. He had 17 points in the first half, finished with 21. Tio, what was Jeremy Roach doing exactly?
Being what we thought he could be. A playmaker with the ball, a guy that could be an X factor for that team. They've got a bunch of guys too, like around him. Like who is their explosive guy? Kyle Filipowski is really good at 7 foot, but is he really that explosive playmaker? No, Jeremy Roach is that guy. They have some other guys that can do some things. Mark Mitchell is good in spurts, especially when you put him in spots where he's defending and attacking the rim at a high level. They've got a bunch of pieces, but Jeremy Roach, he ultimately determines how far this Duke team can go. And when he's like he was tonight, and I think he took the matchup against Tyree Appleby personally, because Tyree Appleby's a really good player and he ended up with 27. But like your team ends up winning, you still perform well. You're a more efficient player on a given night. Like I think he was making a statement as to who is one of the best point guards in this league. I feel like I can compete every night. And Jeremy Roach showed why. We've considered him to be this coming up into this part of the season. He just hasn't been healthy. So the better he is, the better Duke is. I think that's pretty obvious to see.
I loved how Roach played today. I thought today was one of Duke's more complete wins. They looked like a really good team. When there was runs or Wake Forest was pressing, they sustained. They made big plays. Filipowski, the more and more I watch him, I just love his game. He's a steadying force for them. Mitchell, I think, is a perfect glue guy. He does all the little things. He rebounds, he plays hard, he defends. And then if you get some extra offensive production from him, you're in business. Proctor hit some timely shots today. So this is the kind of Duke team that we kind of talked about, I guess, in the early season that we could potentially see, even though Whitehead is injured. Even Lively, man, he had a lot of blocks. He's protecting the rim. So if they can kind of keep playing like this, Duke is going to be a force to reckon with. Wake Forest is not a bad team by any stretch of imagination, and they kept coming, and Duke sustained, and they look really good tonight. So hopefully they're turning the corner.
Jeremy
hopefully,
Roach.
Hopefully. I don't know. Right, listen, Saturday, big day though. Saturday, got a day with destiny.
How are you feeling about that? You look like you're breathing a little harder when you're saying that.
That really that looked like it took you for a loop right there. Like that was a forced.
It's at Duke. Going Tar Heels all the way, man.
Of course you are. You
All
would get in trouble if you didn't. But I'm still going to make you talk about Duke here for a little bit, as much as it might we look at a player like Jeremy Roach, who's a veteran on this team, who has played ACC for multiple years at this point, and has the ability to calm his team down. And you can see when he's playing really well, everyone else seems to kind of take a breath and then get into the positions they need to get into. How much of this is they're just finally starting to click with him, and how much of this is, like maybe he doesn't necessarily have to do this every game for them to be successful, Tio?
Well, when he was injured and kind of banged up, they were like kind of giving the ball to Filipowski and telling him to go get a bucket, and he's not necessarily that guy for them. So having Roach being able to offensively to take the load off and he be a second fiddle guy or a secondary offensive guy within that offense, he looked so much better today. He was so much looser. So they need Roach to go where they're going to go, and if he plays like he played tonight, Duke is going to be right there at the end, kind of competing for the ACC championship. The bubble team, the 10-2 bubble team. That's they're going to be right there with those guys.
First of all, whoever's asking this question in the chat, who's the best team in the ACC, Duke, UNC, Miami, or not Clemson? Not funny. Like, not funny. I'm not sure who's controlling that.
Personally?
Yeah. I take it personally. No, I'm just kidding. You know what? Here's the cool thing about it is now that Jeremy Roach is back and he took over in the first half, now Tyrese Proctor, who's young, guys, like he's 17 years old. Like he should be a senior in high school. He reclassed up. He gets comfortable. So what happens in the first half? He doesn't do much. What does he do in the second half? Goes 3 for 5, has 10 points. And because the defense is so focused on Jeremy Roach, other guys can get comfortable. The only thing that worries me about this game is Wake Forest went on a 7-0 run to close it, and they made 6 out of their last 8 field goals. Who's your closer? How are you going to finish out these games? I know it was close, but at the same time, like you have to find ways to finish it out convincingly so you don't give poor Jon Scheyer a heart attack, because there's been times this season where he's looking like it. He's looking like it.
Do you think he's gotten more gray this season? He's had to have, right?
Man, hey, John, I don't know if you've seen this, but I saw at his press conference after NC State, I thought my man needed a nap. Like, I was worried. Like, his eyes were bulging. Like, I was like, somebody check my man's blood pressure. And like, it's stressful, man. He's in a new spot that he's never been in, that he's never even really, let's call it what it is. He's like, Coach K didn't let him coach as a head coach at all. He was Coach K's assistant last year, and he had to coach a second half when Coach K ate some bad wings or something. Like, that was the only time. That was the only time that Scheyer got to actually coach the team and it really be his. This year, he's taking ownership, and guys, that's a lot. It's a lot to slide one seat down. You saw the first 3 quarters of North Carolina season last year. It takes time.
In that program, yeah. When you follow up a legend, yeah,
of course. He's tough. You're going into one of the premier, if not the premier program, and in the ACC. So it's just a whole different set of pressures, whole different. Like you said, him running a team is Coach K was always now him running the team. It's a lot, and like you said, the press conference, he looked a little flustered. Even on the sideline, sometimes you can sit over there like, "Whoo, all right, well, I'm here now. Like, let's do this thing." So he's learning. I don't think we talk about it enough. He's literally learning on the fly at a program that they don't expect to lose many games. So taking in all that, I think he's doing well, and he's only going to get better, man. So I'm not a Duke guy, but I think Scheyer will be fine. Just not anytime soon,
Before you say something nice about Duke, do you have to preface it by saying, I'm not a Duke guy? Like, is that
not a Duke guy? It's just like a habit. My sister went to Duke. She played, so like I'm Duke women's basketball all day, but Duke men's basketball, yeah, you got to say like, hey, with all due respect, don't mean to disrespect. That's how you got to compliment them.
Well, hey, I'll make you stop talking about Duke basketball real quick, because I do want to switch to the Wake Forest side. And the Demon Deacs, as of late, have now lost 4 straight. Tio, what do they need to do in February in order to at least try to make a run at getting a bid? Can they?
I feel like they can. They still have a lot of punch, like on the offensive side of the ball. They're the second-ranked offense in that league. And say what you want about the ACC, number 2 in the league in offense is significant. However, they better guard, because defensively over the last 4 games, it just hasn't been it. Of course, you look at it, Virginia at Pitt, surprising team, by the way. NC State, who has several guards that can score on a given night. Terquavius Smith, Jarkel Joyner, those guys can go nuts. And then a Duke team at Cameron Indoor, it's tough. Now, they're at Notre Dame. That could kind of get some things back on the right track, at least if they play well. But it's going to come down to these guys have to guard. They're giving up 54% from the field. It's too much. You have to guard at a higher rate. You have to put more emphasis on that side of the floor. Do they really have a rim protector? Matthew Marsh is playing a lot of minutes. He's not the highest jumping dude. He is big, but they don't really have this alpha rim protector down on the defensive end that can cover up a lot of mistakes that some of these guys are making out on the perimeter.